Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival. There's brand new music from Enuff's Enuff. It's from their upcoming album called Brainwash Generation. It's called Fatal Distraction, right here on Rock and Metal Revival. And we want to welcome into the show a man who's been on the show before. Want to welcome back Chip-Znuff to the show. Welcome to the show, Chip.
Thanks, Red. I appreciate that. It's always nice to share rock and roll heavy metal with another brother.
You know, Chip, like I was telling you earlier, I've been a fan since the beginning, back in '89, and I'm so glad that you guys are still bringing out some great music almost 31 years later. I guess my question to you is does it get easier as time goes on, or is it still as enjoyable as it was 31 years ago?
It's easier and it's more enjoyable. How you like that?
Wow, that's awesome. You're now handling the lead vocal duties for Enuff's Enuff, playing the bass, and a lot of changes to Enuff's Enuff over the years. In your current lineup, you got a strong one. Are you guys going to be heading out on tour in support of this pretty soon?
Well, certainly. Well, you're right about that. Enuff's Enuff has had a very illustrious career. And a lot of ups and downs, my friend. The average life expectancy of any band, I've mentioned it a million times, is probably a few years. So for us to still be making records, this is our 21st record that we've released throughout our career right now. And a couple live records are in there, our greatest hits. But for the most part, 18 studio records. That's a lot to say in this day and age. I don't think you're going to see any bands in the future, and there's some good ones out there, Greta Van Fleet, Dirty Honey, Vintage Trouble. I love the guys in Rival Sons.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of newer groups out there that are really strong, but will they get a chance to put out, 5, 10 records? I'm not so sure. It's a tough business to be in right here. It's really very tedious, and to come up with it's easy to come up with the songs because if you look at our landscape, what's happening in the world right now in the last few years, there's certainly a lot of subject matter to write about. But boy, we're at a time right now with too much product, not enough demand. Everybody wants to be in a band, and now we're all sequestered with handcuffs on in our houses. What better way to try to free yourself up but to make a record? And I think this Brainwash Generation album, we nailed it right here. Perfect time to put a new record out. Will there be a tour? Absolutely. And I'll tell you what it is right now. It's just reported. I just seen it in Classic Rock magazine, and I also seen it in Blabbermouth and Metal Sludge, that the Quarantine 2020 tour, Faster Pussycat, Enuff's Enuff, and a special guest, and that starts on September 6th. But we're going to kick off this tour, Red, on July 11th. The record comes out July 10th on Frontiers. July 11th, Enuff's Enuff goes on the live Monster Rock Cruise streaming show. And everybody's been doing it. And you go out there and you play a concert for an hour, hour and a half. Fans get out there to get a chance to see a show. And it's the wave right now until everything opens up. I think Metallica's getting ready to do one. Foo Fighters are doing one. These live streaming shows are just a little caption into what's going to happen in the future with all of our bands.
Well, I know I was thinking about this the other day and how many I didn't realize how much live music that I went out and took in every month until I was told I couldn't anymore. And I know there's a lot of people that are just jonesing to get back out. And one thing I've always enjoyed about Enuff's Enuff is you guys are just a kick-ass live band.
I appreciate that. We've been playing a lot of shows. I was looking at some of the history of Enuff's Enuff. Over 3,000 shows right now, okay? Over 3,000 shows. I think that's right around the same amount of gigs as Rush. Or, some of our Cheap Trick. Maybe Cheap Trick has played more than we have, but there's quite a few bands as far as gigs go because we've never been lazy. We've always taken the music to the streets. In the old days, Enuff's Enuff would be out in a little van traveling around the country opening for Mr. Big or Badlands or Cheap Trick or BTO. It didn't matter who was out there. We wanted to play and reach an audience. And then later on in life, we started playing bigger places and theaters and sheds and arenas and going out with Poison and Def Leppard and the big boys. And that's really, we've left an indelible mark in a lot of different places. And so for us to still be going all this time, two original members, Alex Kane from Life, Sex, and Death, original guitar player, Enuff Snuff, myself, along with Tori Stockreagan, who's been with me for a good 12, 13 years, and Dan Hill. That rounds out Enuff Snuff. It's this rock-solid band. We bring it every single night, and there'll be no exception this September when we go out with Faster Pussycat.
Well, Chip, when I was listening through this album and looking at some of the credits on there, I see you had some special guests. You had some pretty heavy hitters. You had Mike Portnoy and you had Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick, and along with Ace Frehley. And it says, I got to ask what the inaudible lead guitar track is. Explain that to me.
Of course I will. First of all, I go back with Ace Frehley back in the old days, and in the 80s when he was hired and fuck, and we were traveling around the country, And, Ace has cleaned himself up. He's 13 years. He's been straight, clean, sober, doing really well. And we were doing a show in December in Detroit, I think it was. And I asked Ace, I said, I'm getting ready to do a new record on Frontiers. I would love you to participate. And basically Ace says, Chip, send me the tracks. I'll play 3 or 4 solos on it and send it back to you. I said, that's great. And so I let everybody know about that Ace going to be on the record, and he's going to be playing some lead guitar on there. I think I got Nuno Betancourt on the record, and Steve Ramone. I was bragging about because I was excited, like a little kid, that having all these great musicians playing along with me on this album. And then when his management company sent back the tracks, I couldn't hear any guitar. And I had a deadline with Frontiers. I had to put this record out, and Frontiers is a pretty big label. They got they had Sebastian Bach, I know that, but they got Journey and Whitesnake and Glorious Sun. And Stryper, and they got their plate full. They don't have any time to wait for records. And I had a deadline, and I couldn't hear his guitar, so I went in the studio and I did my best impersonation of Ace Frehley in about 5 minutes, and that's it, and that's the record. So I talked to Ace since then. He says, I'm sorry that you didn't get the track the right way, and I'll make sure I play in the next record. So that's something to look forward to. As far as Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater Winery Dogs, it's my wife's cousin.
Oh.
So I call him on the phone. I asked him, I said, Mike, I'd love you to play in a new Enuff Snuff album. He says, Chip, I usually cost a lot of money to play on records. He goes, but seeing as we're family, I'll do it for you. Nice. So that was kind of him. And then my last call basically was to Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick. In the past, Enuff Snuff and Cheap Trick have coordinated on different projects. Rick Nielsen, most notably playing on a bunch of songs on our Paraphernalia record. And with Billy Corrigan, we did a Cheap Trick song. Billy Corrigan played guitar for the Pumpkins, and then working our way down for these other projects I've done. I did my solo record on Cleopatra Records, which is called Strange Time. Chip-Znuff Strange Time.
Okay.
And boy, that record hits home right now. I'll tell you, if you listen to those songs, you'll be pleasantly surprised on that. And I got Robin Zander singing on that record, so I was only fitting. Couldn't get Peterson because Peterson's very busy. Plus, I play bass as well. Although I'm going to get him on one record one day. But I called Dax. I said, Dax, would you be so kind to come down and play drums on a track? He ended up playing on half the record. And I'm telling you, and great storyteller too. Wonderful. He's a wonderful father. He's got a beautiful family and stuff. But all he wants to do 24/7 when he's not with his family is play rock and roll and heavy metal. That's all he wants to do. And so he came down the record and he ended up playing a bunch of songs and telling stories and just had a great time on making the record. So when it was all said and done, we turned it into Frontiers, and they gave us a thumbs up, and here we are. Not many records being put out right now, but we're putting one out in July, and in September we'll go out. We'll support it on a worldwide tour with Faster Pussycat. Both bands will be on tour buses, and we'll be traveling around practicing social distancing. And it'll be a great rock and roll party, bro.
Well, I'll tell you, Chip, like I said, I've seen you guys a lot over the years. I think the last time I saw Enuff's Enuff, you were at the Arcata Theater in St. Charles, Illinois, with Michael Schenker. You guys,
wow, yes.
You guys opened up the show, and Chip, I've seen you played with, like when you played with Adler's Appetite. I've seen a lot of. I just need to know, Chip, what keeps you going? I mean, you were a busy man, and you always come out with some great music, and you've been relevant in the rock world for over 30 years. What keeps you going, Chip? I guess that's my question.
It's a blessing from the good Lord, okay? It really is. I gotta be honest with you. There's a power above. It's giving me the strength to get through these records every single year. I can't take the credit for it myself. Remember the great John Lennon, what he used to say, all the good songs have already been written. It's up to us as artists to find them and bring them down to you. I'm no John Lennon, but I certainly have picked a lot of my ideas off him. And I'm just grateful I'm another artist out there that can go out and make records every single year and perhaps bring it on the road and play them for you guys live in concert and get it. I've made a lot of friends around the country up to this point, and I'm going to make a lot more. So it's a gift that I have, and I'm lucky to have it. Most musicians I know have that too, and they'll say the same thing. You talk to Slash, he'll say, yeah, it's a gift from above. I'm still making these records and putting music out every single year. So don't take it for granted. Be good to the fans. Be kind, because kindness costs nothing, and with it you can give so much.
I have to, and I want to throw this out there. The couple times that I've met you, you've always you've always been so gracious with your fans, and always take time to meet them and hang out with them. And I always wanted to say that I really respected you for doing that. I thought that was a great thing to do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. No credit given right there. That's what all the rock musicians should be. When I was a young kid, I remember going to see Queen playing in concert. And nobody knew back in the old days. There was no meet and greets and sound check experiences or anything. You go to see a concert, and then the band would split, and you'd split, and you wouldn't see them after they walked up the stage. But we knew, me and my buddy Billy Foster, he used to work with Cheap Trick, to go back in by the alleyway where the cars would park, and watch the musicians walk out and go to their hotel, get a ride to their hotel rooms. And I'll never forget Brian May and Freddie Mercury coming out of this backstage area and giving me and my buddy the peace sign and thumbs up as they walked into their limousines to go home or to go to their hotels. And it was very special to me. I thought, just to take a minute out to say hi to the fans, it really left an indelible mark with me. And I said, if I ever get a chance to do something like this, I'm gonna make sure I get a chance to do it the right way with all these people and spend a little quality time with them. And that's what I do every single night. But it all started with the Queen concert and watching how those guys are very transparent. And most bands I know are good guys. They really are.
That's awesome. Well, the new album from Enuff's Enough is called Brainwash Generation. It hits stores July 10th. Chip, is this you're going to get your digitals, your CDs? Is it going to be on vinyl?
Record company hasn't told me. I would think it would be, but I don't know. Labels, they like to keep little secrets from me, and then they surprise me later on. So I know that Frontiers does do vinyl, and I would think it would be on there. But either way, I'm going to have those songs and those albums at the shows every single night. I'll be at the merch booth on that Faster Pussycat Enuff's Enough tour, the 2020 quarantine tour, and you'll be able to get a chance to hang out with us every single night. I'm not going to be hiding in the back room with a mask on, okay?
There you go.
And, by the way, while we're talking about why I brought that up, a quick shout out to our military, our police, our Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, all our doctors, our nurses, our first responders. Thank you. God bless you all for taking good care of us and watching over us as a country. And we're going to get through this at the end of the day, and we're going to celebrate hard rock and heavy metal like it's supposed to be real soon.
Amen, Chip. And we're going to play another track off this Brainwash Generation. It's a tune called I Got My Money Where My Mouth Is. You want to tell us a little bit about this track?
Pretty self-explanatory, okay? I'm conceivably a crack. You're my nymphomaniac. Yeah, you're going to like this one, okay? Really heavy song. By the way, I have Tony Fennell playing guitar on this track. Tony was the ex-lead singer of a band called Ultravox, and now he plays in a group called One in Rome, and wonderful guitar player, singer.
Well, Chip, I tell you what, it is always a pleasure to have you on Rock and Metal Revival. I look forward to seeing you out on the road with Faster Pussycat, and you're welcome back here on this show anytime.
Appreciate that, my friend. To everybody out there, who cares who drives the bus? Let's get to the picnic. God bless.